Hi everyone. If you're taking my Cypress network testing course, then you have access to my private Discord channel where you can ask a question related to the lesson or bonus lesson or anything related to Cypress commands covered in this course. So a user asked me this question where he has a spec and the spec passes, and it passes even if you change an assertion. So let me zoom in on this image. Right here at the end, the user is getting the stub by an alias. And in the left variant, the user asserts that that stub was called once and it passes. And on the right, the user asserts that that stub was called twice and it still passes. So the user is asking to explain what is going on. So in this video, I will explain what is going on and how to be alert and not pass the test for wrong reason. Let me show the source code. So what I'm doing here, I'm intercepting all calls to the fruit endpoint, and I'm just passing a spy function that doesn't do anything. So the call does go to the server, but then I can get that spy by an alias and just check really quickly how many times it was called, which is the same number of times this intercept was triggered by the application. The application is fetching that resource at the start and after 1 minute. We speed up our test by controlling the clock and advancing it by 59 seconds. Now, the network intercept should have been called once at the load time. So that's why this intercept should have been called once, and this is passing. Then we advance it by 10 seconds, and here's the intercept and the assertion that is causing the confusion. Right now we're saying should have been called once. Okay, the test finishes and it's passing. And if we change this intercept to should have been called twice, it still passes. Why does it work in both cases? Well, imagine this spy function or object. It keeps a count of how many times it was called. So once it was called on load, well, guess what? The count stays at 1. What happens right here? Imagine the application is making a call, but after a delay. So if you're asking how many times that intercept was called, or that spy was called, well, still once, right? From the previous execution. Okay. Now, what happens when you change this assertion to twice? Well, it already has a count of 1 because it was intercepted on visit, on application load, and then the application calls it a second time, and so it just waits and retries, and now it's called twice. So the first time it was called once accidentally. This is still an artifact or aftershock of initial load. Okay, so what do we do to prevent this? What do we do to make our test better? I suggest that when you work with intercepts and you confirm the number of times it was called, you invoke a method for Sinon stubs and spies called resetHistory, because you want to forget about the initial call. Okay, so you call resetHistory. So now that spy will have count of 0 again. You advance the clock, the application making a new call, and then that spy was called once. And if you try to confirm that it was called twice, it will fail, because now it's only called once after we reset the history. So resetting the history is very useful to prevent accidentally asserting something that has happened already and not something that has happened right now in this period that you are trying to test.